We don't just talk about the news, we talk to those making news. This is the Steve Malzberg Show.
A month before she was prematurely born, I received an email stating that it was nothing but a chromosome donor and that she was going out to Utah to see a sick relative.
Manzanar spent 6 years fighting in Utah and Colorado courts to become the first man to beat what's known as Utah's fraud immunity statute. Even if someone lies during adoption, it cannot be overturned. The Utah Supreme Court found fraud so egregious in the Manzanar's case, the adoption was thrown out.
All right, folks, welcome back, and we are joined by Robert Manzanares, who has a happy story, not a completely happy story, but a happy story to tell at this point about his efforts to gain back his daughter, Kaya. Hello, Robert. How are you, sir?
I'm doing good. How are you doing?
I'm fine. You know, this story, I mean, I'm a dad, and I have a 14-year-old son, and I just cannot imagine what you have gone through, and I think right off the bat, everyone watching you, whether they agree or disagree, and I don't know how they how the latter could apply, but they have to admire you for your perseverance. I mean, the time spent on this, the years, the money, the lawyers, I can't imagine the headaches and the legal wrangling. So you're to be commended for that, certainly, right off the bat. But tell the story. It was touched upon there a little bit that the mother of your daughter was pregnant, and she took off from Colorado saying she was going to visit, what, friends or relatives in Utah?
Yeah, correct. We had been actually living together as a boyfriend and girlfriend, and about 8 months into our relationship, we found out we were pregnant, and started making plans to have a child together. You know, we were, talking about certain things, and I'd gone to a few of the doctor appointments, saw my daughter's ultrasounds, was with her through that all, and it just, one night she came home and decided that she couldn't have the baby, or we couldn't care for the baby, and that she needed to adopt the baby. And from day one, I said, no, I don't agree to that. I'm going to fight this no matter what. And that really started the battle. She moved out and started looking into adoption agencies. I was contacted by a few in Colorado. At the time, we were living in Colorado. I was contacted by a few agencies and told all the agencies, no, I'm not gonna consent to this adoption. So unbeknownst to us, she had the baby in Utah during a visit to a sick relative. My daughter was born 6 weeks prematurely, and she came back that same week. She was supposed to appear in court. A custody hearing was scheduled for Colorado to get so I could gain paternity to my daughter. And she called into that court hearing, and that same morning of that hearing, she was in Utah signing away her rights to the child. So.
Well, how do you think that, why do you think, or how is it that Utah has this cockamamie, fraud immunity statute? I mean, it's an oxymoron. It's counterintuitive. It's everything you could, talk about. It's a fraud immunity statute. I mean, how do you have something like that on the books? Yeah,
it's outstandingly wild and unconstitutional on so many levels. It welcomes mothers to forum shop to the state of Utah to get immunity from fraud. They can lie, they can cheat, they can steal, do whatever they want without any penalty. And it's up to the birth father to determine or find this all out and protect his rights in the state of Utah, which on itself is downright nearly impossible to do without an attorney.
All right, so you, of course, have had attorneys, and you, of course, have, like I said at the beginning, made this enormous effort to get your daughter back. And let's talk about where it stands right now.
Well, right now, there was the Utah Supreme Court ruled about 2 years ago, stating that the adoption should be turned out due to the fraud. I think I'm one of the first cases where Utah is starting to recognize fraud and not allowing it to be a realm for these adoptions to go through. So we were sent back to Colorado, which is where the initial paternity action was, to basically fight for custody of the child. It's taken us 2 years to get to this point. Meanwhile, during those 2 years, I did get the great opportunity to meet my wonderful daughter. Went through reunification therapy with her because I really wanted to do this right, and I felt it wasn't truly not in her best interest to just say, oh, by the way, I'm your dad and let me take you home. I wanted to do this right through therapy and to get her on a level where she could somewhat understand this all. So we've gone through a custody determination in Colorado, and the judge finally has just ruled on that custody determination and decided to not recognize any of the things that the family and the mother did in Utah, and just to recognize the family as psychological parents and myself as the only legal parent to my daughter. So basically, I'm sharing custody, and her primary residency is staying in Utah, and I'm sharing custody with the family who frauded and lied and did all the things they did to keep her away from me.
All right, so, okay, so you're sharing custody, and first of all, how has she reacted to you so far? What, is she 5 years old now?
She's 6.
6.
She loves me. I'm her dad. She's accepted it. She's a great ball of energy. For one, she's a great child, and she's gotten to spend some time here with me in my home and gotten to know her siblings here, and she's wonderful. She loves me. She's daddy. She's like any other child would be with their dad.
All right, so this term psychological parents, I understand what it means, but I think I read somewhere where you said that you think it's a dangerous precedent and it's a dangerous term.
Sure. I think my case on its face is very dangerous to any father, any biological parent wanting to be a part of their child's life. This term psychological parent is given to parents who have basically held custody of a child for 6 months or longer, and all they need is 6 months. So if you think about, going down to your local park and seeing a single parent and a two-parent family snatching that child and taking it to Utah, fumbling it through the court system for a long period of time, they at a minimum can win psychological parenting rights to that child and primary care in a joint decision, joint custody with a biological parent. I think it's a very dangerous term.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. And you said you wanted to do it right, and you are doing it right. So what
Correct.
do you believe is the timetable? And as far as joint custody, so it'll always be that she, will she eventually share time with you? Can you ever take her back to Colorado?
Oh yeah, she's sharing time with me now. We're actually are sharing time. So I'm getting basically, an out-of-state visitation rights to my daughter. So summers, a weekend a month, things like that, split holidays. She's getting a lot of time with me now. The problem is what I had wanted and why I'm appealing this case is there's no true case law on these sort of cases. There's this thing called custody by estoppel, where we're basically rewarding a family who did all the things they did by keeping me away from my daughter and fumbling through court system after court system, and now winning rights to my daughter, which they should have never had the opportunity to even apply for rights to my daughter. They're not her biological parents.
Who could change this? The Utah the legislature and the governor? And I mean, because what the reason you've gotten as far as you've gotten is because the judge happened to find that, again, crazy, that the fraud was egregious. But, fraud is fraud, as you and I both agree. So who could change all this?
Well, right now, the Colorado Supreme Court has the opportunity to change this. And what I'm requesting is what I've requested from day one is a slow, long transition of my daughter into my care. I'm requesting I have sole custody of her, but I'm requesting this to happen over time and not overnight. I'm requesting that it takes 2-3 years and get the child to where she understands and is ready to come live with me. And that may be never, but I'm not asking to keep these people out of her life. I think they've done a great job of raising her. I'm just asking that this fraud be recognized for what it is, and it's fraud. It's just taking somebody else's child.
I just can't even wrap my mind around it. Hey, listen, Robert, again, congratulations, and God bless you and your daughter, and I wish you nothing but success the rest of the way, sir.
Thank you.
My pleasure. That's Robert Manzanaris, who little 6-year-old daughter, Kaya, is sharing time with him after, I mean, can you imagine making the law such that it's okay for a woman to steal a kid and lie to the father and put him up for adoption and never tell the father anything? And the law says that's okay. That's okay. There's a fraud immunity statute. By the way, it goes back to Seinfeld. It's statute. Kramer thought it was statue. He didn't believe Jerry, so he asked Elaine. And she said, statute, you idiot. And he said, oh, I think you're wrong. Anyway, we're coming back with Gimme 5 on the Steve Malzberg Show on Newsmax Television.
The Steve Malzberg Show.